So just a little bit about what Kirsten said earlier, just giving a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Devin Price. I was born and raised here in Columbus, Ohio, just like you guys. I graduated from Pickerington North High School in 2013. And after I was done playing high school basketball, like I knew I wanted to compete at the collegiate level, and was fortunate enough to obtain a full ride from two different universities. First being St. Joseph's College, which is an NCAA Division II institution before transferring to the University of Rio Grande. And upon graduating from college, I got the inkling to want to coach at the collegiate level and kind of wanted to, stick my toe in the water and see what that might be like. And so I spent 2 years at Bluffton as an assistant coach while getting my master's in business administration. So I finished that about a year ago. And then since then, I've been an assistant full-time on staff at Denison University, located in Granville, Ohio, about 30 minutes outside of downtown Columbus. And the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to collegiate athletics is a lot of people really don't understand what collegiate athletics looks like. And for those of you who don't have any siblings or family or close friends or anyone that's been at the collegiate level that you could kind of talk to about their experience, simply put, it's more challenging. It's going to be a little bit harder. You're going to be competing against better athletes every day in practice or with better athletes. If it's a non-competition sport like maybe golf or track, where you're not going against somebody, but you're just competing for like a score or a time. It's going to be more competition. It's going to be more demanding. Your time is going to be, a little bit busier. You're going to have obligations that require you to make some sacrifices and give up some weekends or some social time. But at the same time, there's going to be more freedom. You're going to be on your own for the first time. There's not going to be any parents trying to tell you what to do or hold you accountable. A lot of that has to come from within. It will come from your coaches, but the majority of that is going to come from yourself and your teammates. So, with a lot of freedom, there's more distractions. Again, when you're on your own, you have more time to do as you please. And so when you're not in class, like you make the decisions about what your day looks like. I mean, outside of your practices or study tables, any extra time put into your craft of, whatever sports you play in or compete in is completely up to you. And one thing is really important is that if you want to be a really good athlete, you're going to have to learn to avoid the distractions because they're always going to be there. They're never going to go anywhere. However, if you let those things become too much of a pull on you and how you utilize your time, it can be very detrimental to your performance on the field or on the court or wherever it is that you compete. Next is what are the options for collegiate athletics? A lot of people are only really aware of Division I options. Like when people think of athletics, they think of like Ohio State, Cincinnati, Dayton, those types of schools that are big. But however, there are so many other options at many different levels where athletes will get the opportunity to compete. And regardless whether you're playing at Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, junior college, or prep school, like it's an honor and an opportunity. And so like less than 1% of high school student athletes will get a chance to compete at any of these levels. And so when you think about that and you think about how many people that that play sports right now who will actually get an opportunity to compete at the next level, you understand that it's gonna be tough no matter where you go. And so for me personally, I competed at the Division II level and the NAIA level, which are very similar in level of like competition. They're just two different entities. We just like to start from the top down. With Division I, each level you're going to put in more time and it's going to be more demanding, more challenging, and have more competition. And so all Division I are four-year institutions, which means when you leave, you would be trying to get a bachelor's degree. And for men's basketball, if you go to a Division I school, you have two options, which is to be a scholarship player or to be a preferred walk-on. And so if you're a scholarship player, they offer full rides for men's basketball only. So they get full rides. And then if you're not on a full ride, then the aid that you get to play in the basketball program is solely based on your academics. if you're a walk-on. And I know with other sports, football being the same as basketball, where you're either on a full ride or you're a walk-on. But then, however, I know with other sports like volleyball, track, baseball, the coaches have a certain number of scholarships, and they're able to divide those scholarships up in the way that they choose. Where, in men's basketball and men's football, they have a certain number of scholarships they can give out each year, and those are all full rides. And so with other sports that are considered non-revenue generating, they have a certain pool of money and they can divide that money up however they choose. With Division II athletics, over every sport, coaches are given, again, a pool of money, and they can divide that scholarship money up however they choose. So for example, if they have 10 scholarships, they can give out 5 full rides. And if they want to take those other 5 scholarships and divide those up, but at $10,000 of athletic scholarship per athlete, they're able to do that. And then at the same time, students are also able to get academic aid, to where, like for me personally, when I transferred to Rio Grande, where they had less scholarship money, I was able to maintain a full ride because I got a lot of academic money along with a lot of athletic scholarship money. So I got my academic package, and then the money that the university did not pay for, or that my academics did not pay for, the athletic program paid for the rest of it. So that was how I was able to get a full ride at the University of Rio Grande. But at St. Joseph's College, I was fortunate enough to have it all paid for through athletics. And then with Division III athletics, where I coach at now, we actually give 0 athletic scholarship money. So, I'll talk about this later of how you can get college paid for without athletic scholarships. But what we do at Division III athletics is the money that you get to attend the university is solely based on your academics. So if we recruit a young man and he decides to want to attend Denison, the money he's going to get to attend the university will not change regardless of whether or not he's playing basketball or not. So if he plays for 2 years for us and he decides to quit, his money that he has to attend the university does not change. Whereas at Division I and II, and even at NAI, when people choose to quit or no longer play, they're forfeiting their athletic scholarship money as well. And at the same time, those coaches have the choice to renew their scholarship year by year. So at Division I, Division II, and NAI, if a coach says like, hey, I'm going to offer you a scholarship, that is a 1-year agreement. If they are unsatisfied or they feel like it's in their best interest to no longer have you a part of their program, they have that choice to the next year not renew your scholarship and make you available to attend other institutions or just attend the school as a student. And NAI is very similar to Division II. It's pretty much the same. The only difference is it's just a different organization. So it's just a little bit different set of rules that they have to abide by in the recruiting process. But outside of that, NAI and Division II are almost identical. Junior college is a 1 to 2 year program, and people go to junior college for many reasons. Junior college for a student athlete typically is because of lack of opportunity that they've received coming out of high school, or they may not have been physically ready to compete at the next level yet. And so they wanted an extra year or two to develop their game and try to get more opportunities at Division I, II, or III, or NAI. And then lastly, you have the option of not qualifying academically. So if you do not qualify academically to go to Division I through III, or even NAI, a lot of players who are really talented will just go junior college for a year and try to raise their GPAs and their test scores so that way they can become eligible to compete at a 4-year institution. And then lastly is prep school, which usually is used for the student athlete who may be pretty talented, but just physically isn't quite where they would like to be, or just haven't matured into, their adult body yet. And so a lot of student athletes will also go the prep school route and get another year of development that does not hurt their eligibility to where they can still get 4 years to compete at any collegiate level if they utilize the prep school year. Whereas if you go to junior college and you play for a year or two, then you're forfeiting a year of your eligibility. So if you go to junior college for 2 years, then you'll only have 2 years remaining at a 4-year institution. And then also, when you graduate from junior college, you also will receive a 2-year degree for that as well, as long as you complete all your coursework. And another thing that is really interesting and really helpful for young student athletes is how to know how to get recruited in the midst of COVID-19. And one thing that is really helpful for prospective student athletes is to being able to email assistant coaches. Most times, the head coach is going to forward those emails to his assistant coach if you reach out to a head coach. So it would probably be in your best interest to email an assistant coach or a graduate assistant if they have one on staff, to be able to get a hold of them and get your name in front of them. And with that, it's really good and important to make sure you're personal and specific with each program and each coach that you reach out to. So using a general email is not good, and just sending that out as like a mass message to a bunch of different coaches, but rather personalizing the message. So if you were to email me, in the addressing me, you would say like, "Hello, Coach Price," rather than "hello" or "hello, Coach." But making it personal lets me know that you put effort into knowing who I am and who you're reaching out to, and just that you did a little bit of research and put effort into getting to know who I am and about our program, and just the chance to have an opportunity. And then the subject line is also very important. And so I put an example up here on the screen where you can see where I included like the class that I was graduating in, my full name, my grade point average, my height, and my position, and where I go to high school. Just a couple different things that would help a coach know exactly who you are, where you play at, what class you're in, and then if you qualify for his institution academically. And so, like, for instance, if someone like me who coaches at Denison University, where the admission standards are pretty rigorous, if a student athlete sends me like that he has a 2.5 GPA in his bio, I know that I probably don't have a chance to recruit him. But on the other end, if a student athlete says I have a 4.0 GPA, then that helps me know like this is a kid that I'll probably have a chance to recruit and will have a good chance of getting accepted. So those are reasons why putting your GPA in there is really important, because it helps answer a lot of questions that coaches are going to have without making them have to do research to get those. So that's very helpful. Another thing, regardless of what sport you play, is just to create some sort of like highlight tape or game film that you have that is available for the public to view. And when creating those highlight tapes, making sure there's no use of vulgar music or excessive extra effects on the highlight video, so the coaches can actually focus on the prospective student athlete's ability. And doing that is just really helpful, just to be able to see any stats that the student athlete may have and compare that to what we see when we watch them in a game tape or in their highlights. And another thing that can be really helpful is DMing college coaches with your highlight tape. But in that, pretty similar to the way that you would address an email, putting, what class you are, your name, your GPA, your height, weight, depending on what sport you play, and your position. Doing those things are just really helpful, again, for a coach to know, like, this student athlete is specifically reaching out to me, and he's giving me information that is very helpful for me to decide whether or not I want to look further into possibly recruiting this student athlete. And then along with that is pinning your highlights or game film to your Twitter and or Instagram profiles. Doing that is really important, because if I see a young man and like I see someone retweet him and I go to his profile, I can instantly click on his highlights or his game film to see exactly what I'm looking for and not have to go searching for it. Just doing something like that is just something that's really small but really helpful as well for a student athlete to be able to get as many opportunities as possible. Next thing that's really important is refraining from using and liking or retweeting explicit language and images. So anything that you wouldn't want your mom to see, or your parents to see, or your grandmother for that matter, don't allow those things to be on your page, whether that's cursing, violence, any type of vulgar images, or any use of drugs or alcohol. Those are just things that are just no-nos. And as a college coach, when we see things like that on prospective student athletes' profiles, it's kind of a reason to check them off the list. And because at the end of the day, when a male or a female were to come into our program, we would want those things on our student athletes' profiles because now they're representing us in our program. And so the less we have to worry about things like that, the more attractive a student athlete can become by having just a clean social media that just has things that need to be on there. Any extracurricular in relation to explicit language and images, or drugs or alcohol, are just things that should completely have no place for someone who wants to compete at at the next level on their social media. And that can also go into the real world when it comes to getting jobs as well, because you may post an image or a video now when you're 16 or 17 years old, and when you graduate from college, you may be trying to get a job, and a job goes to your social media profile, and then you have a video or a picture from 6 or 7 years ago that ends up being the reason why you don't get a job or you get fired from a job. So it's just really, really important to monitor your social media closely and make sure there's no images or content on there that is inappropriate. Um, Next thing I want to talk about is what are college coaches looking for? And I think for each sport it is a little different, but there are a few things generally that or that coaches at the collegiate level are looking for. And the first thing would obviously be talented individuals who have a work ethic that match or surpass his or her talent level. Every coach needs talent because at the end of the day, like, our jobs and our families are depending on whether or not we have good players and whether or not we win games. So at the end of the day, we have to have talented individuals. And when we have talented individuals who we know have a work ethic that matches, that makes them even that much more attractive to wanting to bring them into our program. Um, Secondly, a low maintenance student athlete, both on and off the field and court. And what I mean by that, when I say low maintenance, is someone who we don't have to worry about what they're doing when they're away from us, whether that's in the classroom or on campus or in the community, other sporting events, or wherever. Like, we just don't have to worry about what are the choices that they're making when they're not around us. So having low maintenance student athletes that don't need a bunch of extra attention to make sure that they're on track is something that every coach, regardless of sport or level, wishes that they had in their program. Next is just hardworking, driven students as well. Now, I know this is not something that everybody has or is driven about and and excelling in the classroom. However, if you can find a student that does excel in the classroom, it just helps provide a certain level of comfort in knowing that they probably have a little bit extra maturity and drive to them that goes beyond the field. That will also translate into being a quality adult once they're done competing in your program as well. So just having high quality student athletes is very helpful as well. And just student athletes who do not cause drama and distractions. That's one thing that drives a coach nuts, is when they have players who are constantly in trouble, constantly in fights, or causing drama within their team, or getting in trouble on campus and getting written up. Those are things that coaches despise and really don't want to deal with, because at the end of the day, we want to help make our student athletes become better people, and better athletes, and better students. And when you're causing distractions that take us away from being able to do our job, then you're taking away from how we can help our team, which ultimately affects, as I mentioned earlier, our jobs and how we provide for our families. So just student athletes who don't cause distractions and don't bring drama to their program is something that's very vital. And also just a student athlete who represents themselves, their family, and their schools very well. Just someone who is high character, and again, as I mentioned earlier, low maintenance, and we don't have to worry about what are the choices that they're making when they're away from our coaching staff and or not in practice or in a game. The next topic I wanted to cover is how can you pay for college? And there are a multitude of different ways to be able to pay for college. that many high school students, including myself, when I graduated, I didn't fully know about. But now being on the other side and working in collegiate athletics, I've learned to become a little bit more educated on the ways that students can now be able to pay for college. In the first and in the most difficult way to be able to pay for college is by earning a full ride athletic scholarship. And again, those opportunities are possibly available at Division I, Division II, and at NAI. But in most cases, most student athletes are not getting full rides, and there's very far and few between of athletes who are able to obtain those full ride athletic scholarships. And then you have partial athletic scholarships where the prospective universities are able to give money to be able to pay for school, where they can give some aid, some athletic aid, but aren't able to pay for all of it. And that's what you'll see at a lot of Division II and NAI schools, and at junior colleges, and even at prep schools, where they can give some aid to help take care of the cost for college, but not all. And then you have merit-based academic scholarships, which where schools will determine how much money they're able to give to you based upon your grades, which would be, your GPA and your test scores with the SAT and SAT. So that is how we give aid at Denison University, being a Division III institution, and that's the biggest gift that we can give is through our academic-based aid. And so the higher your grades are, the more aid you receive, and that changes university to university. So at Denison, you may receive $25,000, but Ohio State, with the same grades and the same test scores, you may only receive $10,000. So just being able to understand that at each school you apply to, there's going to be a different amount of aid that you'll receive is really helpful to know that when going into the recruiting process. And another form of being able to get college paid for are through grants, which are essentially loans that do not have to be paid back. And so each college has a certain number of university grants that they give out for a number of different reasons. And then churches often give out grants and scholarships to be able to help students that attend their church or just are connected with their church. You have different community groups like Leading the Way, for example. I'm sure there's something that they do to help provide scholarship funding and grants for students to be able to attend college. Special talents like musical interest. There's even scholarships for people who are like left-handed, all the way to having a minority background. There's different scholarships that they give for people with specific abilities and talents and backgrounds that is really helpful. And those typically aren't big grants. However, they are helpful in the grand scheme of being able to pay for college if you don't have a bunch of liquid cash to be able to pay for it. And then also just doing some research online. Like right now, if you're a junior or even a senior, it'd be really good to start researching scholarships that are available to you and to apply for those to be able to get as much grant money as you can as possible. And then next is your FAFSA, which is government issued aid. And so when you apply to college, every student is required to fill out a FAFSA profile. And when they do that, the government will determine how much additional aid that the student needs to be able to attend college on top of whatever aid that they're given from academic scholarships and or athletic scholarships. So FAFSA is something that is given to a student athlete or a student no matter what, just because it's something that everybody has to apply for. And that's something that regardless of whether or not you're on scholarship, it will be the same whether you're competing as an athlete or a student. And then lastly is student loans. And with student loans, they are low interest loans that you have to pay back over time and are determined by each college. So for example, a school that costs more will typically ask you to take out a bigger student loan to be able to pay for college, as opposed to a community college or a junior college where the cost to attend isn't as high. So the amount of student loans you would need to be able to attend the school wouldn't be as much. And those loans are typically paid back between 10 and 25 years. And that's pretty much it for me on things I wanted to cover. I just wanted to cover a few basic topics that a lot of young student athletes just don't No, when trying to go through the recruiting process. So I just wanted to provide a few minor details just to help anyone looking to compete at the next level, regardless of sport. And so at this point, I just wanted to open up the floor for anyone who had questions to ask them right now or be able to put them in the chat. And then if there's any further questions where you wanted to talk about a topic in detail, there's my email so we can be able to communicate and just let me know you saw me on this Zoom and you wanted to talk a little bit further.
Well, thank you for all of your information. I feel like that was very insightful, but just want to open up the floor for anybody that has any questions for Mr. Price or just curious about some things or, want to shout out your team, whatever you want to do, the floor is open for you. I know I have a couple questions, but I want to give the floor to some of our students on the call. And you can open up your mic or drop them in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Looks like Brandy had a question or maybe wanted to ask something. Her screen lit up on my end.
Brandy, you got some questions?
Back to that. I don't have a question. I just
Okay.
Did you go over ACT?
Yes, so as in like the score to be eligible.
Yeah.
So that varies level by level. And so at Division I, they have different requirements than they have at Division II. And I kind of alluded to that on the slide earlier when I was talking about what are the different options for athletics when I mentioned like having to go to the junior college route. But I'm pretty sure to be able to go NAI, you have to at least have a 16 ACT and I think a 2.3 GPA. And then I think for Division II, I want to say it's a 17 with a 2.5 GPA. And then I think it is a 2.5 and maybe an 18 for Division I. I'm pretty sure that's the numbers to be eligible to compete at each of those levels. And obviously, if you're not able to qualify with one of those GPA and test scores, then you would have to look at the route of going junior college or prep school. And I know also one of the three requirements, you have the GPA, you have the test score, and then you also have like being in like the top half of your graduating class. So I know like if you have like two of those three requirements, then it'll give you a chance to be eligible. But like say you're in the bottom half of your class and you have a 2.1 GPA and you only have a 15 ACT, then you wouldn't be eligible. But if you did have like an 18 ACT and a 2.7 GPA, but you weren't in the top half, you still would be eligible to be able to go to Division II or NAI.
All right, thank you.
And then there's a question in the chat.
Dr. Fox said, what sports do y'all play? So this can be, I know we got some former athletes on the call, got some current athletes, but yeah, what sports are y'all playing? And tell us about some of your experiences, things like that.
I'll play basketball. I'll go to Beach House High School.
Okay. What year are you at?
22.
Okay. Were you I was actually in Pennsylvania this past weekend and I saw on their roster there was a kid from Beechcroft.
No, that's my teammate. He's 6'8", 6'7".
Yeah, he was playing with Nova Village. So I did see him.
That's dope. Thank you for sharing. Lanaya said her junior and senior year, she's going to start basketball again.
Okay.
So y'all all hoopers. That's cool. Okay. That's good.
Yeah, and like if you guys have any further questions, Kirsten has my email and Clark have my email to where they can, direct me any questions you guys have. Because I'd be definitely open to helping you guys if you want to know a little bit more in detail about any specific subject I covered or something I didn't cover that you want to know about. I'm definitely a resource that's wanting to be used to be able to help, you guys get any opportunity that you're looking for.
I have a question, or maybe just if you could kind of mention it again, and you put this on the slide at the beginning.
Okay.
I think sometimes the hardest part is getting noticed and putting yourself out there, which can also be a scary thing, right? To put ourselves out there.
Right.
So your recommendation is still to send emails to assistant coaches at different institutions that you're interested in with kind of your personal stats.
Yes. So if someone emails me and if they don't put my name in there, then I know pretty much it's just like a spam email they sent out to probably hundreds of coaches, which I know there's been times where a student has reached out to me, and when I contacted them, they didn't even know they reached out to me. So it's just things like that where you just want to make it as personal as possible and actually do your research on each institution that you're reaching out to, because you don't want to waste someone's time. You know what I mean? And I don't want to waste, a young man's time. So therefore, giving me as much information as possible on the front end allows me to know, okay, this is a student athlete that I either can recruit or I can't. And the faster I'm able to realize that, the better. Just because, and a lot of kids don't realize it's I'm getting 10 to 15 emails a day of new kids reaching out to me wanting an opportunity. So what's going to make you stand out of those thousands of emails that I have? I literally have thousands of emails I need to go through. Since our season just ended, I need to go through all those emails. But what's going to separate you from the next kid? And when I see something that has a little bit more detail, more thought put into it, it's personally addressed, it's okay, I'm gonna make sure I check this kid out because he put effort and time into wanting to know more about my program. And he did his research, which means, he actually cares a little bit and is not just, sending a spam email out pretty much. I hope that answers your question.
I think it's just reiterating that, right? It's so important to put yourself out there, but to do it in a personalized way, take that extra time, address it personally. Correct.
Yes, and I was talking actually with one of the coaches from Baylor. I'm in a group chat with him, and we actually do a Zoom meeting once every week, and he's the one who leads the chat, their assistant coach. And one thing he told me, he's I'll check kids' emails, but if they don't put my name in there or they don't personalize it, I won't read it because there's too many names coming across my desk for me to waste time with somebody who won't take the time to at least acknowledge who I am. And obviously they just won the national championship, and it's this is what he's saying at the highest level. I don't even look, if I see it and it doesn't have my name in it, I'm not responding. And so he'll give you an opportunity and at least check you out if you personalize it. But if you're not taking that time to put in a little bit extra effort to get that opportunity, then, he's I'm not interested. Because there's, millions of kids who want that opportunity. And what's going to separate you from the next kid?
I just want to say that Rio Grande was a great joy to play against you guys back in the day. I played a long time ago. I ain't gonna put it out when, but I played at Ohio Dominican, so that was our conference foe. So we played them twice a year, man, and for 4 years, man, it was great playing against you guys. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Who's speaking? Who was that speaking?
One of the my camera's not working. Coach Scott here, lead the way.
Okay, Coach Scott, nice to meet you. Yeah.
Oh, you too, man. Okay. When I saw that, I said, man, I thought about those games we used to have back in the day. Yeah. Good times.
And then, is it Lania, one of the two?
It's Lania.
Lania, okay. She asked me, do extracurricular activities and hobbies influence a student's chance of being accepted? Yes, they definitely do. When a university sees, because in athletics, we don't have anything to do with you getting accepted. That's all on the university and their choice. But the more activities you're in, the more clubs you're in, and the better your grades are, the better chance you have of being accepted. Just because when the university and admissions department can see that you're able to multitask, you're able to be a part of different groups and work in teams, you're able to juggle multiple things at once and still be able to be a good student, that definitely helps set you apart from someone who just is a student and just gets good grades. And I know when it comes down to, making those final decisions, if it's close, like they're going to go with the person who's involved in more activities. And more often than not, if you are a student athlete, to know like someone does excel in the classroom, say they're a part of National Honor Society and they have 3.6 GPA and they're a really good athlete. Like those things really help your chances of getting admitted into your top schools that you're interested in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Chad, yes.
Yes, I'm Coach Chad with Lead the Way Learning Academy also. I just had a quick question because I did hear you say to do the personalized emails, which I think is a awesome idea. But my question to you, how hard is it to obtain those emails from those coaches at different universities? Because I have a few students myself that are athletes and looking to play collegiate athletics or sports as well. But how hard is it to get that information, those emails?
How hard is it to get the information of like getting my email?
For a coach, like if somebody was interested in attending Bowling Green or Kentucky or something like that, how hard is it to get the email addresses for those coaches?
Oh, it's on every website. So like if you go to DenisonBigRed.com, like you can go on our school's website and then you go to athletics. You click on men's basketball, you would go to the men's basketball staff and it'll have all of our emails and our office phone numbers. So every coach in the country has their email on their school's athletic website. So everybody can be reached to, so student athletes can have access to them and can contact them.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I had one last question and then
Okay.
I guess we can kind of wrap it up. But so you gave a very like small percentage of students who kind of like make it into collegiate athletes or like make it into like professional teams. Can you give any advice or kind of some wisdom to speak on like how to deal with that and kind of how to like, I guess, find your identity outside of sports, if that makes sense? Like say if you just don't happen to make it, or share some of your personal experiences, what you might have dealt with, things of that nature.
Can you repeat the question? I was responding to somebody in the chat. I'm sorry. They were
No,
asking.
no, it's fine. Just kind of give it an advice since you gave a really small percentage of like athletes that kind of make it to the collegiate level or even like the professional level.
Yeah.
But do you have any like advice or wisdom to these young people who, just something realistic, like how to find their identity outside of sports and kind of like deal with that realistic, view of like, oh, I might not make it, like that type of ordeal. Not saying that none of y'all make it because we believe in y'all and you can do it, but like just some, sprouts of wisdom for our young people here.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and not everybody has the luxury of having guidance, which is, why I wanted to, be on here when, I was offered the opportunity to speak with you guys. And I think it's really important to have the proper guidance when trying to figure out, one, if you should try to compete at the next level, regardless of what level that is, and then also, if you do, like, what are your chances of actually getting there? And then also assessing, like, all right, if you're good enough to compete at the college level, like, what level is the best level for you? Because a lot of people will just try to tell a kid, like, hey, like, you're good enough to play here. You're good enough to play Division I at Bowling Green. When the reality is, like, you saw one person get a scholarship to Bowling Green that you knew, and like, yes, you might be talented enough to compete at a certain level, but at the end of the day, it's so much bigger than a student athlete's ability to dunk a basketball or how talented they are. So much more that goes into it. And that's what a lot of high school students don't understand. And I didn't understand that as a high school student because I saw kids that I felt like I was better than get offers. And I was like, well, like, I'm better than him. How did he get this offer and I didn't? But now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, well, there's a lot more that goes into it because that kid may have got the offer just because he was smarter than me and his grades were higher. So like he got into the school that I wouldn't get into. And like, I'm not thinking about that, but the reality is like his grades are better. Or a school like may need a shooter, you know what I mean? Like for basketball players, like they may need someone who's big and can shoot. When in reality, it's like, you're not big and you can't shoot. You're really good at something else. You might be better than them, but this is what we need. So I think understanding that is so important, and having someone who can help realistically evaluate you and help guide you through the process. Now, I know it would be impossible for me to help everybody on the call do that. But like, I obviously wanted to talk to be able to, at least give a little bit of kind of the things that we think through as coaches, because we oftentimes don't always just pick the most talented player. Like there's a lot of things that go into us giving an opportunity to a young man. It's very, very detailed. It's very thorough, and we'll definitely take someone who we know is low maintenance, is going to work hard, and is very high character, than someone who's super talented but has a bad attitude, doesn't want to go to class, has expressed they don't like school, or things like that, or like we know they have a history of getting in trouble all the time. Like those are the things that we weigh as coaches. Like, what do we want to deal with every day? Because at the end of the day, like when you choose to become a collegiate athlete, like that's a job. Like you're doing this every day, especially when you're at the scholarship level, because you're being paid to be there. Like I mentioned earlier, at any moment, a coach can say like, you're not good enough. Like what you're doing is not good enough, and we're going to give somebody else this opportunity because we're not satisfied with either how you're doing academically, athletically, in the classroom, in the community, whatever it may be. Like we have that authority to be able to say like, we can take this opportunity when we want. And so, we try to avoid those situations as much as possible by doing our research on the front end and giving the opportunities to people that we trust the most from a character standpoint. And so like, that's just one thing I want to make really, really, important to the students on here, that, it's a lot more than just being able to, shoot a basketball or score touchdowns, or whatever it is. It's so much bigger than that. And just like with being able to like find yourself, I think so much of your time is taken up as a student athlete. But I think it's really important that you do branch out into other areas and into other clubs, and do other things when, you're in college, whether you're an athlete or not. Like I would encourage you guys all, like when you get to college, to join as many clubs, and different groups on campus as you can. Like for everyone that's on here that I can see, at least, like if they have a Black student union, join the Black student union. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be in a fraternity or sorority, go do that. Like surround yourself with, the types of people, that you may feel the most comfortable with, but also, don't be afraid to take a risk and join some other clubs that you just have an interest in, but you don't know much about. You know what I mean? Like allow yourself to experience things that you're not always accustomed to during that 4 to 5 year period of you being in college. That's what college is for you to be able to experiment and figure out, who it is that you really want to be, and what you really like, and just kind of figure out the trajectory of your life where you want to go. That's just the biggest thing for me is I can't really pinpoint exactly how every person should handle college, because I'm not everybody else. You may have a different viewpoint or beliefs or perspectives than I do, but I can just encourage, everyone on here or any student looking to go to college, just to diversify the people you're around, and try to learn as much as possible from as many different groups of people as possible. Just because once you leave college and you get into the real world, it's different. And it's not going to be the same, and it's not going to be easy. And
I second that.
Yeah, as much as you can learn, in those 4 to 5 years or however long you're in college, I just encourage you to do that. Just because when you're out of school, like life is definitely, it's going to hit different.
A question. So one of my questions is just kind of hitting on like being that student athlete. Like, what are some challenges of being a student athlete? Like for you, for example, I know like for me, my freshman year, just like giving advice for like when people go into their freshman year, was like the balance, like finding a balance with school, practice, lifting, trying to fit in eating. That was like a wake up call to me, because I'm like, I don't have time to do anything. Like I tried to sneak in a nap here and there, but it was just like that balance my freshman year was just off. So like, was that the same for you, or did you have like a different experience?
So me personally, I will say as I went along in college, I got better at managing my time. And that's another thing I'll say is like managing your time. Once you do get to college, whether you're an athlete or not, is so important because we waste so much time and we don't even realize it. And what really taught me this, and I'll come back, I'll circle back to what you were saying, was I thought I was busy when I was in college. And so when I was in college, like I was an RA, I was a resident assistant. So like I had a floor in a building that I helped, supervise. I was a captain of the basketball team. I led a Bible study with our basketball team. I played basketball. I was a starter. So like I put in a lot of time and focus into that. And like, I wanted to do well in school. So it was like you have all those things trying to pull you in different directions. And then you also have like your social life. So you have all those different things pulling you in different directions. And, my senior year, I was busy for a college student, but then I graduated college and I realized like I have so much more time than I think. Like, because in college, like, even like you're saying, like I would do all those things, but I was still taking a nap every day. And I was still, watching Netflix every night. I was still, taking time to, just do whatever I wanted when I felt like it. But I thought I was like super busy. But then I graduated college and like the past, like leading up to before I got to Denison, when I was at Bluffton University, I was a graduate assistant and an assistant coach. So we had 28 players. We had a varsity team and a JV team. And I was getting my master's at the same time. And we only had 2 coaches and 28 players. And so during the season, I was working 80 hours a week. I was working 80 hours a week and getting a master's degree at the same time while having a girlfriend and still trying to be a normal human being. I realized what it was like to have to manage time. Like I realized that we have so much more time than we think, and we just waste a lot of it just by, sitting on our phone for 30 minutes and just scrolling through social media. You know what I mean? And that can turn into 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like that varies person to person, but like we just have a lot of distractions. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying time to yourself. Like that's vital and important that you do take time to yourself, but just realizing like you need to like kind of like map that time out and manage it in a way where the time that you're taking to yourself is like intentional and you're not just letting the day determine, what you do. And so like one thing we tell our student athletes now is like we have study tables for our players where they take 2 hours out of their day to, get work done, but we schedule that in the middle of the day. And we don't allow them to just do it in the evening, because one thing we realize as coaches is like the middle of the day as a college student is the time where there's the most time to waste, because you might have 2 or 3 classes, unlike high school, but those classes, you might have a class at 9 a.m., class at 1 p.m., practice at 5 p.m., right? So you got class 9 to 10, right? Then you got a break from 10 to 1, right? You're going to go, play some or watch some Netflix, take a nap, go to lunch, then go to class. You just had 3 hours. You just not wasted, but like you didn't do anything productive in that 3 hours, right? So then you have class 1 to 150, right? You're done at 150. You go eat. You get prepared for practice. You just went your whole day. Practice not over till 7 p.m. Now it's 7 p.m. You've done nothing besides go to class and go to practice. And so like understanding those 3 hour windows, that 1 hour window, that 2 hour window, like just utilizing those windows to be able to get things done will give you the time and the freedom to be able to enjoy yourself later on in the day when you really want to relax, because nobody wants to do homework after just getting out of practice at 8 o'clock. Like you might want to hang with your friends. You might want to, watch Monday Night Football. You might want to go to a party. You know what I mean? You might want to do whatever. But at the end of the day, like you have to figure out, would you rather sacrifice that time in the middle of the day and where you're kind of being lazy, so to speak, or would you rather, miss out on those moments of being a college student that are meant for you to enjoy? You know what I mean? And I think it's just all about balance and learning how to manipulate your schedule best for you as possible. Because obviously everybody's schedule is different. But like, as you said, being an athlete, like there's so many responsibilities you have and you are busy, but like you can manage your time a lot better than you think. And it took me having to be so busy where I had like literally almost no time to understand like, all right, like now that I'm not in grad school anymore and we have a bigger staff and less players, I have so much more free time. Like I'm able to do this Zoom. I would have never thought I could do something like this in the middle of a work day, beforehand, but it's like, there's time for it. You just have to make time and plan ahead, and be disciplined, and just make sure you're on top of your stuff. And like with me personally, like I schedule my stuff out like a week in advance. So like I know exactly what I got to do each day. And like I got a planner and everything. Like I know what I got to do the rest of the day today, tomorrow, Friday, and then I'm chilling on the weekend. But like I know what I got coming up and it's planned out to where I'm not wasting any time. So I hope that answered your question.
Can I ask one last question? Hopefully this is really the last one. So Dennison's got like a wonderful campus. I think it's like if you haven't been there, you got to see it for yourself. The basketball facilities, the dorms are nice. They got a nice football field and everything. Do you guys have any camps coming up this summer for basketball? And then also, how would somebody go about visiting if they wanted to visit the campus so they can see for themselves? Because it's not too far from Columbus.
Yeah, so it's like I live in New Albany right now. It's just about 20 minutes away from the university. So like if you guys know where New Albany is 20 minutes away from the school. The school is about 25 minutes away from Easton. And so to answer your question, we personally are not having regular camps this year. In a normal year, we would. So if you're a sophomore, then like next summer, we will be able to get you on campus and have like an elite camp where you could come and you could play in front of us with other prospective student athletes. However, because of COVID, our school has been really, really strict on what we've allowed to come on campus and who we've allowed to come on campus. And so they said there's no big camps or like mass gatherings, even on campus until the fall. So the fall would be, when we'll start to hopefully allow those types of things to happen. But as of right now, there won't be any camps. Now, if you did just want to come on campus to visit, all you would have to do is contact our admissions department and via email, and you can get that. If you go to denison.edu, like you can go in there and schedule a tour. And you would just go to denison.edu and just find the tours option or schedule a tour option, schedule a tour, and then you'll have a tour guide walk you around campus and they will take you through the athletic facilities as well. But what else? What else did you ask? Just mute it.
Just how would they take a tour? That's all. Just how could they get on?
Okay, yeah. So so no camps this summer, unfortunately, but hopefully we can get back to doing that next summer. But if you would want to schedule a tour, you'd go to denison.edu and then just go to schedule a tour. And it's free. And the tour guide would just walk you around campus and show you, pretty much everything we have to offer and talk to you about the university.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for
Maybe
everything.
one more question in the chat.
Oh, we have more questions.
Can students request deferment until financial aid is processed? What do you mean by request deferment? I think it was Lanaya. That was her question in the chat. I'm just trying to clarify what exactly.
And I'm not sure what the question was. If it was deferment, like deciding whether or not to accept. So schools give financial aid packages before admissions deadlines. So you should absolutely never decide on what school you're going to until you know how much aid and scholarship is coming your way. And usually that's, you'll start, admissions offices will start letting people know potentially as early as December or January, could be rolling. And then, depending on schools, they may have a May 1st deadline where you let them know, but their financial aid package and scholarship would come before that. So yeah, never sign like that you're going to a school until you know how much aid you're getting. And just as a reminder, is I know we've shared this in some of our earlier sessions, you can also always call financial aid offices to see if there's other aid available or more aid that they can give you. The worst they can do is say no, but oftentimes calling, they want to help you in the process. They can help you figure out where there could be potential money available for you.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much answered it all. Like we have a May 1st. we have a May 1st deadline of when students would have to let us know by, but we usually get packages out to students in early to mid-March. So we'll let students know at Denison specifically, we'll let students know in early to mid-March what their full financial aid package will be like. But that varies school to school, because the last school I was at, like, once you applied after FAFSA could be turned in, so I want to say after November 1st, if you applied, say November 1st, like, you would have an answer of what your full package would be, like, no longer than a month later. So by December 1, you'd have a full package and understanding of how much it costs for you. But I know that varies school to school based upon their admissions process, which is very complicated. And I don't even know all the answers to all those questions.
And just remember that FAFSA matters. I know it sometimes can be overwhelming to fill out, and it can be confusing to fill out, but I think I would assume, probably every single speaker we've had every week at one point or another has referenced the importance of the FAFSA. Mm-hmm. So I hope those of you that are here today or watching later just remember that. And if you're able to, it opens as early as October 1st. And it is something that you have to fill out every single year that you're on campus to continue to get that aid. But it's a great opportunity to continue to get more funding, especially scholarships and grants that you don't have to pay back, right? So basically free money.
Yes, and then the last thing I wanted to mention was, don't turn down or turn your nose at Division III athletics. And the reason I'll say that is because a lot of times, if you're going to go to college, you're likely going to have to take some type of loan out unless you're on a full ride. Doesn't matter who you are, unless you're on a full ride or your parents just make a ton of money. So if those aren't your circumstances, you're probably going to have to take out a loan at some point, whether big or small. You're probably going to have to take out a loan. So understand that Division III schools do not give out athletic scholarships. However, they do give out a lot more academic aid than what you'll get at your bigger institutions. So, for example, Denison costs $72,000 a year. Right? You hear $72,000 a year and you're like, okay, this is really expensive. And it is. However, say for instance, the young man that said he goes to Beechcroft, right? We offer a program for City League students where it's called the Columbus Alliance program, where we offer a full tuition scholarship for 20 students per year from Columbus City Schools. So you just got a $50,000 scholarship to attend Denison before you get any FAFSA government aid or any loan has been taken into account. So we usually get a student athlete every year from Columbus City Schools that attends Denison on a full ride. So we got a kid coming from Centennial High School next year by the name of Jalen Jackson, who got the Columbus Alliance scholarship and is attending Denison almost for free. So like, don't turn your no. And he had like some partial scholarship offers. However, he chose to come play for us instead because it was a better education and it's the same price or less. So definitely don't turn your nose down at Division III athletics. It's extremely competitive. I played at Division II and NAI and now coach Division III. And I can tell you, like, it's not much of a difference. It's really, really close. And when you're talking about the top Division III programs, a lot of those schools would beat a lot of NAI and Division II programs. So please don't look at a Division III opportunity as less than, just because there are so many great opportunities. And oftentimes you'll get more grant money from a Division III school than you would get if you were to decide to not play and just to attend Ohio State or Cincinnati, because those schools don't give a ton of academic aid unless you have almost a flawless transcript. So.
And just to tack on, since I know quite a few people joined a little late, one of the first things Devin mentioned is, especially at schools like Division III, once you get your scholarship money, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because it's not tied to athletics, if something happens and you change your mind and end up not staying in your sport, your money doesn't go away. So you can stay a student at those schools like a Denison with the same scholarship and aid that you had, even if you're not playing a sport. Unlike other schools where if you stop playing the sport, your scholarship could go away.
Correct.
So I think that's I know people joined us late, so I wanted to to mention that again too.
Is there
Anybody else have any more questions? Anything else in the chat? I don't see anything. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, and Kirsten, you brought up the Bowling Green State men's basketball program. Like, you just go to their website and like all their emails were on there. So.
Yeah. Well, if there are no more questions, we can wrap up this session. Thank you so much for coming to speak with us, dropping all those gems. Like, y'all, I hope y'all took some notes, whatever you had to do, but this was very insightful, so helpful, and we really appreciate you. And yeah, that was just so exciting for me. I'm like I said, I'm not even an athlete, but just hearing you and you being here and sharing your wisdom and giving your advice is always appreciated. So thank you, Mr. Price, again. And he put all of his information in the chat. If you want to reach out to him, hit him up, ask any questions. It's in the chat. But thank you so much for logging on, everybody. And be sure to tune in next Wednesday at 3:30. Hit your coaches up for that link. Let us know if you have any questions, things of that nature. But with that being said, y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Again, thank you so much for logging on. Thank you, Dr. Fox, for doing your thing every time. We appreciate you. But yes, that is another session of College Readiness Wednesdays. We will see y'all next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.